Off it, everybody. I'm Sabrina Salas-Mazzanani. Welcome to the HotSpot.
And wherever you are watching us or streaming us from anywhere in the world, it's afternoon lunchtime here in Guam. Thanks so much for tuning in.
Let's take a look at what's in our news server.
The menu, brought to you by King's Restaurant, always open, always local, and Ruby Tuesday Guam, home of the fresh Garden Bar.
Here's what's in store for you today on our data drop. The debate on a transgender high school athlete being allowed to compete in girls rugby.
Several bills signed into law except for a few.
The impeachment of the CNMI's governor hits yet another hurdle.
And GDOE announces their Teacher of the Year finalists.
And we are getting started right off the bat with a issue, Bree, that has been so controversial, so much talked about this issue on social media, as there is a debate over a transgender athlete competing in high school rugby right here on our island community. Over the weekend, the season kicked off, of course, but concerns have surfaced from families as well as both coaches and players alike about a transgender female competitor from Guam High. With more on this story is Isaiah Uggan.
3 Tizen high school female rugby athletes were physically injured Saturday by a transgender player from Guam High. In light of the incident, Conrad Kerber, the head coach for both Tizen boys and girls rugby teams, is calling out the league to address the concerns.
The aggressive nature that was witnessed clearly showed that it's a definite issue that we have to deal with. I had 3 players that were injured in that first game against Guam High, directly by that particular player. Right now, we just have to come together as a group and discuss the proper path to take, discuss what the parameters are with allowing transgender males in full contact sports such as rugby.
Although no official decision has been made and while discussions are ongoing, Kerber hopes the league will adopt the World Rugby Law Transgender Guideline, which states that transgender women may not currently play women's rugby because of the size, force, and power-producing advantages conferred by testosterone during puberty and adolescence, and the resultant player welfare risks serious injuries.
Body size, body strength, and the ability to apply force with that size and strength completely dominate any girl that I have on my team.
The Academy of Our Lady of Guam's rugby team coaches unanimously agreed to enforce this rule over the weekend. Aiming to follow the footsteps of the home of the Cougars, Kerber says it's a matter of safety for his female athletes.
It's purely a safety issue when we discuss transgender males playing in female sports at a youth level, particularly at this type of contact sport as well. And I'm basically in line with the World Rugby guidelines regarding transgender females, transgender males, I should say, playing female sports. And basically, across the world, it's not permitted.
To prevent any serious injuries throughout the season, Kerber stated the World Rugby Law should be acknowledged on Guam.
It has to do purely with the size, force, strength disadvantage that transgender males will have over females in this type of sport.
There is no policy in place currently for outdoor leagues that bans the participation of transgender women in rugby.
My players will get through it, we'll heal, we'll use this next 2 weeks. We're lucky that we actually have a bye weekend so that we can heal properly.
Guam Rugby Football Union and Interscholastic Sports Association discussions are ongoing. KUAM News has reached out to Guam High coach Joe Mancuso and did not respond as of news time. Reporting for KUAM News, Guahusi Isaiah Uggan.
Isaiah notes that discussions are ongoing between the Guam Rugby Football Union and the Interscholastic Sports Association.
Well, moving forward in our rundown this afternoon, the Guam chapter of the Society for Human Resources Management will be conducting a virtual training seminar on Wednesday with leading HR expert Sean V. on diversity, equity, and inclusion. She is the founder of Consent Matters and provides workshops revolving around consent, cultivating safe work environments, and interpersonal violence awareness and prevention. The president of the local chapter is Daphne Leongaro.
Really just the basics of DE&I. And Sean, she has her master's degree in diversity, equity, and inclusion. And she said, hey, I can break it down and really go down to the basics of how or why DE&I is important. What are the concepts behind DE&I, and how can you build actions around these initiatives in the workplace?
The conference is virtual and, as I said, is scheduled Wednesday morning from 8:30 to 10:30. For more information and if you would like to become a member for your organization, go on the web and visit guam.shrm.org.
A couple faces child abuse and family violence charges after multiple fractures were found throughout the body of a 3-month-old infant. Officers were called to Naval Hospital on April 9th after a pediatric doctor discovered fractures to the infant's humerus, ribs, and skull. 22-year-old Austin Christopher Johnson and 20-year-old Nika Mae Johnson both allegedly denied knowing how the baby got the injuries, and court documents added that the two showed no emotion when asked about them. However, Nika Mae Johnson allegedly told officers that her husband gave the child a bath and she noticed a large bump on the child's arm after he handed it over to her. The doctor indicated that some of the injuries were in the process of healing, meaning that they weren't all inflicted at the same time. Child Protective Services was notified and took custody of the child.
Governor Lou Leon-Guerrero, in other news, signed several bills into law, but 3 did not meet muster and instead were vetoed. Substitute Bill 236 was rejected by the island's Magahaga. The main sponsor of the bill is Senator Sabina Perez, who said it is aimed at increasing transparency for small purchases in government. The co-sponsors are Speaker Therese Terlahi, Senators Joanne Brown, Tilina Nelson, Jim Moylan, Joe San Agustin, Clint Rigel, and Tello Taitigui. The governor likewise vetoed Bill 123, which requires employees who resign from GovGuam to submit to drug testing to remain reemployment rights if they resigned after the announcement of drug testing itself. And finally, Bill 239 was also shot down. That was relative to business license requirements for entities engaging in child replacement services.
And so it begins. Annual budget hearings got underway this morning at the legislature, and the University of Guam was the first agency to present its FY 2023 funding request. EOG President Dr. Thomas Kreis thanked senators for supporting long-planned capital improvements, including one that's of particular significance as a result of the pandemic.
We're embarking on several projects to expand our nursing program and reduce dependency on our expensive travel nurses by building a new 12,000 square foot facility. This will add to our new CNA, that's the Certified Nursing Assistant Program, and the 45% increase in nursing graduates at next month's commencement.
The university is requesting from the general fund $33.9 million for general operations, $4.2 million for student financial assistance, $1.6 million for capital improvements, and $1.6 million for continuing special operations.
Bree, ahead of the anticipated influx of millions of dollars in federal infrastructure funding, Governor Leon-Guerrero has established a new Office of Infrastructure Policy and Development. She's appointed Bureau of Planning Director Tyrone Taitino to head the group, and BSP Chief Planner Lola Leon-Guerrero will move up as acting director in the Bureau. And by way of a news release, the governor said, quote, "The Building a Better America program has made available a substantial amount of funding for infrastructure upgrades. The Biden administration," she continues, "has asked states and territories to appoint a single infrastructure coordinator. The local agency is a temporary office, and staffing for the office utilizes available funding."
Over in the NMI, Governor Ralph Torres continues to find himself in hot water just as the criminal charges were filed against him by the CNMI Attorney General last week for alleged misuse of public funds, theft, and contempt. And the process in the legal system is facing some roadblocks. Overnight, all 5 Superior Court judges in the CNMI recused themselves from hearing the criminal case versus Governor Ralph Torres. The trial court judges are Judge Robert Naraha, Judge Kenneth Gavendo, Judge Joseph Camacho, Judge Teresa Kim Tenorio, and Judge Wesley Bogdan. The judges also recused themselves months ago in the ongoing Superior Court case where the governor is challenging the legislative subpoena that he was held in contempt for violating in the House of Representatives committee investigation. That contempt charge is also listed in the AG's suit. Former Judge Timothy Bellis was appointed to hear that case. It's yet to be seen who will preside over the current matter.
Back here at home, one former senator has taken over as the president of Victims Advocates Reaching Out. Louise Borja was recently elected to the position, and she replaces outgoing president, former Senator Dr. Judy Wonpat. She's serving as the organization's vice president, and she says she's answering the call and stepping up.
Went through a workshop just recently for Vero, for our victims, and it really was very scary. I felt nervous listening to some of the stories that they had to go through. I really think there is a need, and I wanted to expand my, at least my service to the people and help Vero through this like Karen said, this difficult time where there's more domestic violence going on.
Vero, as you probably know, provides services to victims and families of domestic violence, sexual assault, abuse, violent crime, and traumatic events. The nonprofit volunteer group also has a 24-hour hotline, which the number is 671-477-5552. That's 671-477-5552. This year commemorates the 40th anniversary for Vero, and several fundraisers are being planned.
And still to come, Jason, you had an opportunity to meet some of the GDOE finalists for Teacher of the Year.
Yes, I was in a room with many, many teachers. I thought I was going to get written up, but I did not. We actually are featuring them, showing you who the very best of the best in public education are, and you're going to meet them coming up.
KUAM Digital presents a series highlighting the wide array of talents on our island. Whether they're a standout gamer, extreme athlete, performer, or have a unique skill to show off, we're showcasing them every month on Wow Factor. Brought to you by Mountain Dew. Do the do.
The KUAM Care Force, in partnership with the UOG Center for Island Sustainability, Guam Green Growth, and UOG Sea Grant, is proud to present a series of Sustainability Matters features all Earth Month long, including Green Leader Profiles on KUAM News Primetime, April 11th through the 15th, with Joe Nuggan-Charfris introducing you to people in our community, leading the way with sustainable businesses and practices. A Think Green Cleanup Showcase on Weekend Edition at the end of April, featuring your events around the island. And Tyler Matanani taking on the Sustainable Lifestyle Challenge, sharing her results every Friday on HotSpot. Plus, follow the KUAM News Instagram and Facebook pages for weekly tips from Guam Green Growth. Sustainability matters all month long on KUAM Communications.
See what's on TV tonight with schedules, network news and notes, local promotions and giveaways on KUAM Communications social media pages. Like and follow us on Facebook or Instagram now for all the latest and never miss out.
Pacific Matters is a half-hour news, culture, and lifestyle show focused on issues that impact Guam, the Northern Mariana Islands, and the larger Pacific region. Join Tomas Maglonia every Monday to discuss politics, trends, and take a deep dive into the issues changing our island home, because what happens in the Pacific matters.
Listen, watch, and learn from the daily Tomorrow News updates from KUAM News. Catch them on the link during the 8 o'clock hour, streaming online on Isla Radio, or on the KUAM News YouTube channel for your convenience. Tune in and stay informed, all while preserving our precious culture through the daily use of our native Chamorro language. Tomorrow News updates are brought to you by your familia at First Hawaiian Bank. Get up-to-the-minute news, plus access to alerts, streaming radio, promotions, and more on your mobile device by downloading the KUAM News mobile app, available at the App Store now.
Plus, and the 6 finalists have just been announced for the coveted Guam Department of Education Teacher of the Year Award. And we swing down now here where I have Miss Maria Leon Guerrero from the Foundation of Public Education and Miss Nikki Monforte. They were instrumental in determining how these 6 finalists were chosen out of a field of 12 outstanding island educators. So, Maria, maybe we'll start with you. A difficult challenge to be sure, but what are some of the criteria about who gets selected as a semifinalist?
Okay, so I just want to mention that the foundation cannot take any of the credit for the selection process. That's all in DOE. It's a closely guarded, high integrity process where previous teachers of the year are the keepers of that process. So I think there's a lot of integrity and incentive built in to make sure that they they choose the right person.
And you work at the bank, so you know something about a vault and keeping things secure.
I do, but I'll defer to Nikki to elaborate on the process.
Sure.
Thank you so much for the question. First of all, it has to be a teacher that has worked for the Department of Education, obviously, and they have to be employed with us for 5 years or more. And they have to have well, first of all, they have to get nominated. And once they're nominated, they can choose to turn in their application with the endorsement of the principal. And once they turn in their application with all of those things in place, then we move forward with the process of the application and the interview and the on-site observation.
Okay, and then Maria, you got a chance to know some of these amazing educators, and these are people who have dedicated their lives to making Guam better, and passing down the lessons that they learned when their teachers inspired them to get into the profession. So, what can you say about the personality and the characteristics about these amazing people that we honor today?
Well, I can say that all of the previous teachers of the year, I always see them coming back in some form or fashion. It's not a one-trick pony. They're really dedicated to their craft, and it shows. As an example, we have former teacher of the year Melanie Blas from Simon Sanchez High School. She has received numerous grants from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Association to do a lot of environmentally conscious projects. We have Annalyn Palugad, who recently wrote a book, and so they're just really doing amazing things, and I continue to be inspired by these teachers year after year.
Mm-hmm. Now, of course, as they say, to the victor go the spoils. So, talk a little bit about what the ultimate teacher of the year will get during their time, and where do we go from here in determining who the teacher of the year will be?
Sure. So the priority from the foundation is that we finance the opportunity for them to go to Washington, D.C. to represent Guam at the national level. So they will have their airfare and their accommodations and their expenses fully covered. And in addition to that, we have our corporate sponsors who, depending on what they're able to give, we try to throw in a lot of extra goodies and motivators for the teachers. Yet to be determined, but I think the big sexy prize is the one you're seeing right behind
Let's go take a look at that. So, okay. Wait for me, guys. Okay, so here we have these 6 teachers. These 6 finalists as a teacher of the... Oh, okay, and then there's this guy. Dr. Benji Santiago, the pride of Ogata I. Johnston Middle School, the reigning teacher of the year. What does it mean to you to stand among, not just your fellow potential teachers of the year, but among your colleagues and people who share the same passion for teaching?
Well, Guam is really small, and these collaborative community members are deserving of what they've already accomplished. I never got this experience because last year we were doing everything virtually. So just to celebrate in person with everyone just brings it full circle. And I really, really applaud all of them. Congratulations to all our semifinalists this year.
All right. So educators from all walks of life, several of the island's public high schools represented, middle schools. Maria, we started with you. We'd like to give you some final thoughts. What does it mean to you to constantly be involved with such a worthwhile event such as this, where we can, give recognition to those people who, tirelessly show up into the classroom day after day and do this year after year after year?
Yeah, I've been doing this for a while, and every time we come to this Teacher of the Year program and recognition, I really feel it in my heart that these teachers are deserving of this recognition and so much more. We really need to do all that we can as a community to uplift this profession and to send the message that what these teachers do really matters, because they're changing the hearts and minds of our children, and that's what we need to do. We want to move forward.
Perfectly said. Well, Maria, thank you so much. Thank you, GDOE. And that is basically going to do it. So we are going to hang out, and this car is going to whoever wins the Teacher of the Year. Erica Cruz, the Deputy Superintendent of GDOE. Congratulations on another wonderful event. And make sure to stay tuned to KUAM, because when the Teacher of the Year is announced, we're going to let you know who it is. Reporting from Mighty at Cars Plus, I'm Jason Salas. Congratulations again to the 6 wonderful and very, very deserving semifinalists for Teacher of the Year.
Let us know what's up on our KUAM News WhatsApp tip line at 671-727-0094. Share information about what's happening in your town, on Guam or the CNMI, and what you want us to know. Reach us on WhatsApp at 671-727-0094.
It's deep diving into what's making news, listening to your feedback, and getting you the answers you deserve. Plus, remembering to laugh a little too. Join me, Chris Barnett, on The Link, live streaming video on the KUAM News Facebook page and YouTube channel, and broadcast live on The Breeze, 93.9 FM, KUAM.com, and the KUAM News app. Miss The Link, miss a lot, so don't miss it.
The Link is presented by IT&D, Calvo Enterprises Inc., Jack in a Box, and Pacific Point.
If you love them enough to crawl into a play place to get them to come down, then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat.
Watch Mariana's artists, activists, and visionaries and their quest to protect, preserve, and promote our Chamorro culture on The Culture Club, a weekly feature on KUAM News digital platform and the KUAM News Weekend Edition, brought to you by Tropical Ice.
The KUAM Podcast Network is back and on demand, featuring a great variety of podcasts from our island and region, including culture, lifestyle, awareness, crime, politics, commentary, comedy, and entertainment. Available on most streaming platforms. The KUAM Podcast Network. Subscribe and listen now.
Get up-to-the-minute news, plus access to alerts, streaming radio, promotions, and more on your mobile device by downloading the KUAM News mobile app, available at the App Store now.
Welcome back. Ukraine has warned citizens in eastern Ukraine to flee ahead of renewed Russian invasion of that part of the country. Russia has pulled its forces out of northern Ukraine and is redirecting them to the east. Natalie Brand reports.
U.S. officials say Russia has appointed a new general, Alexander Dvernikov, to lead the war in Ukraine. That same general was in charge in Syria, where Russia is accused of war crimes.
Those same brutal tactics, that same disregard for civilian life and civilian infrastructure will probably continue as they now focus in a more geographically confined area in the Donbass.
Russia is reinforcing its troops in eastern Ukraine with satellite images showing an 8-mile-long convoy believed to be headed to the Donbass region. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky expressed concern about the battle in the Donbass and Mariupol with CBS's Scott Pelley on 60 Minutes.
What are you expecting now in the east and in the south? We think this will be a new wave of this war. We don't know how much Russian weaponry there will be, but we understand there'll be many times more than there is now.
Mariupol's mayor tells the Associated Press more than 10,000 civilians have been killed as the fight rages on. President Biden and India's Prime Minister discussed the atrocities in Ukraine during a virtual meeting on Monday. The administration is trying to urge India not to increase its imports of Russian energy.
The United States and India are going to continue our close consultation on how to manage the destabilizing effects of this Russian war.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi says he's spoken several times with Presidents Putin and Zelensky and has appealed for peace and direct talks between the two. Natalie Brandt, CBS News, the White House.
Reportedly, there are nearly 10,000 undocumented Ukrainians who have been processed by the U.S. border officials in the past 2 months. The Department of Homeland Security says thousands of refugees displaced by Russia's invasion of Ukraine have traveled to Mexico, hoping to request refuge in the U.S.
Well, in that story, you saw the American president and Joe Biden and his Justice Department announce new executive regulations with which to address homemade weapons known as ghost guns. The goal is to classify them as the same as regular firearms. The commander-in-chief also introduced his pick to lead the federal agency charged with enforcing gun laws and requirements. Deborah Alfarone has more, again, from the White House.
From the Rose Garden at the White House, President Biden proposed new rules to regulate the manufacture and sale of ghost guns.
This is the gun. It's not hard to put together.
Ghost guns are homemade firearms that can be assembled using a 3D printer or with kits purchased online. They lack serial numbers, which makes it impossible for law enforcement to trace. The new proposed rules would require gun makers to include serial numbers, be federally licensed, run background checks, and keep purchase records as long as they are in business.
Because of these updates,
law enforcement will have additional crime gun intelligence to stop gun violence.
At the announcement were gun violence victims' families and survivors like Mia Tretta. She survived a 2019 ghost gun shooting at her Santa Clarita, California high school, but she lost her best friend.
Nothing has relieved the pain in my heart like working to prevent more senseless shootings.
The new regulations are likely to face lawsuits from manufacturers and gun rights groups. Monday, the president also announced the nomination of Steve Dettelbach to the head of the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, or ATF. President Biden nominated the former Ohio U.S. attorney after he pulled his previous nominee due to bipartisan concerns from lawmakers.
I promise to support the men and the women of the ATF and to do everything in our power to protect the people of this nation every single day.
If confirmed, Dettelbach would become the first permanent ATF director in 7 years. Deborah Alfarone reporting for KUAM News.
The White House continues to call on Congress to pass gun legislation, but that's not likely to happen in the equally divided U.S. Senate, where some Republican lawmakers have already come out against the president's new ghost gun rules. Today, Louisiana Senator John Kennedy tweeted, quote, "More gun laws that restrict the Second Amendment won't make our cities safer. We need," he writes, "to punish criminals, not criminalize law-abiding gun owners."
The island's only video game shop closes this month, leaving many in the gaming community wondering where they will go now. Daniel Parrish reports.
For the past 20 years, residents have been getting their video games, consoles, and gaming accessories from GameStop. After years of service, the stores in the Agana Shopping Center and the Micronesia Mall will be permanently closing. Daryl Jake Dianzin and Baron Josh Trinate, members of the University of Guam Super Smash Bros. Team, shared their reaction to the closure.
I was in disbelief because it's been here for so long. I grew up with GameStop and, I got all my games there. I got my controllers, got a lot of stuff there. And honestly, I was just shook.
The instant thought was, oh no. Well, what's going to happen now? What's going to happen to our community here on Guam? It's really small, and I think GameStop might be our main provider for games and hardware that, for us young people, youngsters, where else can we get it?
Since GameStop announced the closure on their Instagram page, several comments by users hoped it was an April Fool's joke. But after a couple days, the comments turned to sadness and disbelief. UOG Triton Esports manager Ken Nicholas said the closure will impact the island's gaming community.
Think about it, they're the only ones who now supply games and consoles and hardware and other peripherals. But then when I found out that it was in fact real, I was kind of heartbroken and sad because it really shows a changing of the times as, I guess maybe players and consumers go away from the traditional tangible box and game to something more easily attainable like purchasing online, right? I do hope that with GameStop departing, that someone takes up the mantle and at least provides consoles and peripherals, and maybe not a full plethora of games, but at least another way for people who don't have that option to procure those items.
With the physical store shutting down, gamers will now have to resort to buying games online. Although this is a great option, it still leaves some gamers who don't have access to internet or online modes of payment in the dark. Both GameStop locations are expected to close by April 27th. Daniel Perez reporting for KUAM News.
It's a really very unfortunate story. GameStop, really, really good company. It's been a place where many people have worked. I've bought a bunch of stuff there.
Me too. Okay.
That's how we should end the show.
Thanks for watching.